Hey everyone, I'm so excited because today we are sitting down with Jordana. She is one of the co-founders of Betches, one of my favorite media companies. She chats about how she turned a blog with two of her best friends in college into this huge media business, and also how she's planning her wedding and navigating life through COVID. Thank you for joining Cozying Up with a Clear Cut, where we get up close and personal with women that inspire us. Today, we are so excited to sit down with Jordana. She is the co-founder at Betches. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, I've been a huge fan of Betches. I can't even remember, for like years since I was in college. And I'm just so excited to get to know about the inception story, what you guys have in store for the future. So can you kind of walk us through and give us like a brief look back on how it all started?
Sure. So I actually started Betches with my two college roommates who are also my childhood friends. We all grew up together in the same town. We wound up going to Cornell together. And the blog started definitely not as a business. It was like a fun way for us to sort of like comment on like the culture around us. I know like frat tire was very big at the time. This was 2011. So we really wanted to create like a female version of that, like sort of describing like sort of like a caricature of the girl around us who was like in a sorority or in college and like all the things that sort of affected her. So that was really the inception. And then we found that this voice that we were creating really like resonated with people that we had no idea that it would relate to. And then people like felt like they were going through the same things. And so that's when Betches was born. It kind of just blew up virally. And then we decided to make it into a business because it seemed a lot better than getting like a regular 9 to 5.
Yeah, definitely. How did you turn your blog into a business? Like, what were the first steps? I know a lot of people that, might start blogs don't really know how to take it to the next level and actually, make a career out of it.
For sure. I would say it was a lot of trial and error. It definitely like our growth was not like linear. Like it wasn't like we knew immediately what we were supposed to do, especially because like I said, like we started the blog as just like a fun thing that we were doing. So to turn it from like that into a business was definitely like there was a learning curve. So, but I mean, we were pretty early on. We were working with like advertising agencies to advertise on the website. But then around like 2014-ish, I would say Instagram really became like the beast that it is, or was starting to become that. And a lot of people found that a lot of advertisers were really interested in monetizing our Instagram. And so that was when we really started to like become profitable and started to make a lot, to monetize in that way. Along with our website and the other things we were doing, and then we wound up starting podcasts and monetizing on there. So it really it was sort of like we used Instagram and the revenue that came through there to really fund other aspects of the business.
Wow. And now it's like a full-blown, like huge media company. When it started, where did you get the name Betches from?
It's funny to like be brought back to sort of that moment where we were like toying around with these names. It was like we were thinking of, what is the female counterpart to this like bro culture, and like bros were very in back in the day, or like that was like a thing, like the frat guy. And we were like, she doesn't really have a name. We don't really want to call her like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to curse or not, but like you don't really want to call her a bitch because that's not what she is. Something like a little more empowering. And this sort of was like thrown around a little bit, and then we landed on it, and it really just it worked.
Yeah, definitely. And what is it like working with, your two college roommates, friends from childhood? How do you guys, work together and also form, that the voice of Betches from 3 different people?
Well, I think it definitely helped that we were like in the same environment. So had a very similar sense of like what the culture around us was like and the way that the girl we were describing like spoke. And then running, now it's been over 10 years. And I think we've definitely learned how to like optimally work together in the sense of like, because we're friends, there's a lot of things that are easier. Like it's easier to give feedback. You're on a personal level with someone, but it's also can be like on the flip side, it can be like a little more heightened because it's almost like fighting with like your sister,
Yeah.
or it almost feels like a family run business. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like the perks and also the fallbacks that come with that. But I think over the years we really figured out like knowing each other so well, like, okay, this is a good time to talk to this person about this thing, or like this isn't a good time. Like I know this person. I know that like we're gonna get the most done when we're like in this kind of mood. So that's been helpful in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot. I work with my husband, he's my co-founder, so I'm sure there's a lot of similarities, where does like friendship end and where does work start, and balancing that relationship.
For sure. I'm sure, especially in COVID when it's like you're in the same room. Like, and that was kind of, it's funny, like that's what we used to share. Like we just moved into a different office, but we're still remote. But we would all be in the same room all day, every day. And it was like, it felt like we saw each other more than our significant others. So it definitely seemed like it was a lot of time together.
Yeah, definitely. Is there something that you guys like learned from each other through that like COVID experience, or like any, key takeaways that you'll bring into the business?
I think like in a lot of ways, we were lucky to have such a digital business, and that sometimes for some people or some employees, like they actually thrive better when they're like in this remote environment. They like feel more in control of their time and like and their day. And so we definitely want to bring back some flexibility to like the workplace, and also just like people finding like they're more creative during certain times or less creative, or like the environments really affect that. And creativity is like such a huge thing for our particular business that like it's nice to hone in on like allowing people to work in a way that feels most like productive for them.
Yeah, definitely. And as, chief content officer, and your whole business, does revolve around producing and putting out, relevant, exciting content, what is the most exciting part of your job, and what is, the most challenging or like stressful part?
I've actually been working a lot more on revenue than content these days. My co-founder, Sammy, is a little bit more involved in the content, but I would say like we're the three of us as co-founders are definitely very involved in the content. Like we each run multiple podcasts. And for me, that's like the most exciting part. I mean, there's the business aspect, but I consider myself, I think as do my co-founders, like creatives at heart. So that's really what gets me up in the morning. Like I love all the podcasts that I run are like the best part of my day. It's great to have an outlet to like be able to share your thoughts with the world, which is really what we've always been doing.
And how do you guys manage to, keep the content feeling like fresh and relevant throughout the years? Because you guys have been around for, you said like 10 years now, and it still feels like super, of the moment.
Well, that's great to hear. I think something that we've done pretty well is like grown with our audience. So like I said, like when we started this, we were writing about college life and sorority life and like, that lifestyle. And as we've grown, our audience has really grown with us. And like, it's been great to be able to bring the same tone, but to the parts of their lives that people are currently experiencing. So that led us to launch like Betches Brides, Betches Moms. We hope to launch like a finance vertical soon. So it's nice to be able to follow our target, our target person as she gets older, as she enters new phases of her life, and just really be able to be like relating to her in that sense, because the three of us are also growing in that way also.
Yeah, definitely. So would you say that, your biggest audience is still kind of that millennial generation, or do you find like younger women, following as well?
I think, like millennials are definitely like a huge part of our audience. That's who we are. That's who we fully understand. But we've been lucky to have like a great staff and team that works with us that is also like runs from that like Gen Z generation to a little bit older. And I think we can also really hit them where like they are in life and really help to relate to them.
And, building this business and growing with your audience, what are some of, the biggest like lessons you've learned, whether it be in your career or personal life, that you can share with us?
I think, as we've gotten older and we've run this business and we've had more experience with it, it's been like, I think because we never went to like business school or like didn't have like necessarily like formal training in like running a business. A lot of it has been trial and error, but we've also like learned how to be managers, which is not a skill that came super easily to us. And the best thing I think we've done is know what we're good at, but also know that we're not what we're not good at. And when we know what we're missing, we find the right people to sort of like help inform us, and people who we trust and people who we admire to help us come up with the right solutions for problems that we don't feel like we're fully equipped to handle ourselves.
And how do you find these people? Like, what are some, key tips or tricks to find people to help you with, the areas you might not excel at?
I think a lot of it's networking, or like knowing people who are good connectors, who can put you in touch with people that you've already worked with, and sort of using like speaking to those people and seeing who they know, almost like as a an outer network of people to tap into. Is like, oh, I'm having this problem. Do you know anyone who like deals with, monetization optimization, for example, or something like that? Or, we're looking for a good PR company. Like, who is someone that you recommend, because we trust your opinion and we trust your knowledge in the industry.
And it definitely comes with trial and error, testing these people out, right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell, especially like, I think you can get all the stats on someone, but like to know if they click with you and totally understand like where you're coming from and understand your particular business, especially our business, which isn't like a traditional kind of company. A lot of it is meeting people and, feeling out if they're a good match for you, regardless of like their stats.
Totally. And when you hire employees, like what is something that you look out for in, a new team member?
I think for us in particular, understanding the voice and understanding the brand and understanding like the value that we bring to the marketplace is so key, because like I said, we're not a traditional business. We're not like just selling a product that we're making. It is a product in a sense, but the product is really the content. So I think to really excel at Betches, you have to really have a good sense of the pulse of the content and the sense of like what our demographic wants to hear from us. What is she coming to Betches for?
Hey everyone, Olivia here. Hope you're enjoying our episode. Our Clear Cut collection features fine jewelry pieces inspired and designed with you in mind. Our collection is ever-changing, and each piece is handmade and made to order here in New York City. Don't forget to check it out and use the code COZY, COZY, for free shipping on any purchase. You guys were kind of pioneers in this content creation business, and now we're seeing more and more, content creators out there. What do you think, is the future of, digital media?
I think it's all about like, giving creators their freedom to do what they do best. And that's when our team does best, is when they have, full reign to like have an idea and really go for it. And I think original content, which is something that we've really amped up in the past several years, is what drives people to us, the feeling that they're getting something from us that they can't get anywhere else.
Definitely. You guys have so many different verticals. Like you mentioned before, there's like Betches Brides. I think you have like moms, so many different things. And also like some political content. What are your favorite verticals and why?
It's great. It's hard to pick a favorite because they're all for such different aspects of life. I would say my favorites are the ones that I relate to, or I feel like I'm like in the club. So I love Bravo. I'm a huge Bravo fan. I watch all the Real Housewives pretty much.
Me too. Huge.
So I love our Bravo content because it really just like hits the nose. It hits like I just feel like it gets to like the heart of like what everyone's thinking about when they're watching these Bravo shows, but maybe like don't have an outlet to say out loud because so much of it is so ridiculous. So Bravo by Betches is definitely a huge, I'm personally just like a huge fan of it. And then I run the You Up podcast. So obviously like that's something that I love to do, and that's so exciting. And that I feel like we have really good, solid, not only like conversations that are not only funny, but also really help people. So that's another big one for me.
So I'm also a huge fan of Bravo. Who is your favorite housewife and why?
Who is my favorite housewife? I feel like this one's a little controversial, but I love Bethany.
Oh man.
I feel like she's like people love her or hate her. And I like her like rags to riches kind of story of just like her sort of like being like this scrappy person who was from season one. And I watched like season one through season, I don't know, 10 in like one like very slow winter for me. So I saw like trying to like watch someone over 10 years and you see them like falling in love and getting divorced, but it's like 3 days apart. It's almost like warps your sense of reality, but I like her like journey. I like their story of like how she's now like kind of like this powerful person who's not only like doing really well in business, but does have this like large philanthropic side. And also just like her commentary is like pretty funny. Obviously she has her faults, but I'm a big Bethany follower.
And what do you think about like the Housewives franchise without her and like the new characters?
I think they do a good job of like filling the gaps and keeping it entertaining.
I'm a big Leah fan from last season.
Are you? Yeah, I think she's definitely a good like. I don't think she's quite like replacing Bethany, but I do think she's good at like taking it.
No, definitely not.
Is she your favorite?
I don't know if she's my favorite. I have a favorite from like each, franchise, I think, but she's definitely up there. Her and Sonia are like two of my favorites for sure.
Sonia is definitely like adds to the entertainment factor whenever she's on screen. I feel like, especially if she has a few drinks.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like that makes the whole.
She can't leave. Yeah. She can't leave.
Totally, yeah.
And is it you got are you recently engaged, planning a wedding? Is that true?
Yes, I got engaged last August and I'm getting married in Mexico in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
So has like that inspired you to create any like content for like the Betches brides? Like what has it been, getting engaged during COVID and planning a wedding and all of that?
Yeah, I co-host Betches brides now since I've been engaged. So it's interesting because I don't have like I've only been engaged in COVID, and I know there's so many brides that like had the craziest year of like, postponing and rescheduling and canceling these weddings. And I can't even imagine like it's like been a little stressful planning in COVID, but I feel like it's nothing compared to those who already had their weddings planned and really had to like reimagine the day or postpone it or cancel it and the stress that would follow them there. So we definitely try to like help those people like manage their anxiety, keep a positive outlook. And it's sometimes hard. Like I get it too. I mean, it's a weird time to be planning a wedding. Again, I don't have anything else to compare it to, but it just does feel like it's a little more exciting when you can like see people a lot and like show off your ring and like, just excitedly like talk to people in person. I think it does sometimes feel like there's like a little bit of the like energy taken out of it in COVID.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, planning a wedding is stressful even in normal times, but like having the, uncertainty or like not seeing people added onto that, even, without having to cancel or postpone your wedding, I feel like it's just like an added unnecessary stress.
Totally. And it can feel like every like COVID headline is like personally like attacking you.
Yeah, it's like
it's a roller coaster,
I know that like when COVID first hit and I was following the Betches Brides Instagram like religiously, and I would do those polls like, do you think we'll be able to like do a July wedding? And I was like, yes. And you really felt like the community like kind of like coming together, and I feel like you guys provided like a lot of content that other bridal accounts or like places that people go, like bridal destinations, like weren't really providing that kind of voice.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think when we do our best, that's definitely like what we want to provide is like a community of people. I mean, it's funny because like some of the questions are like, tell us when we can have a wedding. It's like, we're not the CDC. We don't really know. All we can say is like what you guys are saying amongst each other and like build this community of like you said, like support for people who are going through it and sort of like getting a general sense of like the world, but we're not going to be the ones to tell you like you can have your September wedding or you can't.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember like sitting down with some of my clients and they were like, I don't know, we're getting married in August. Like, I'm not sure. I was like, well, Betches brides, like 70% of people think it's going to be okay. So,
Right. Yeah. Everything we're saying is like what you guys are saying. We're not, we can't predict the future. That's
um,
great though. That's good to hear we've made it in the,
oh yeah, in the engagement bridal world, like definitely reference it a lot.
that's awesome.
And so we are a jewelry company and we always ask our guests, what is a piece of jewelry that you like love, can't live without, or has like a special like sentimental meaning to you and why?
I mean, I've never been like a huge like jewelry person. I like to keep it simple, but I am obsessed with my engagement ring. It's like the only real, I sort of have like three pieces of jewelry that I just wear nonstop. I don't really switch it up. I have a necklace that I got like, I've been wearing, I think it for like 6 years straight. Like I've taken it off like 3 times. And my engagement ring, which is like, it's, I'm not really into like jewelry that has like too much going on. So it's like simple, it's beautiful. And I feel like it's timeless.
What was your proposal like? Can you tell us the story?
Sure. It's, so the short version is that he proposed, I thought we were going to get engaged last May. Obviously there was like COVID and some setbacks and stuff like that. And then we wound up going to South Carolina for a month, in late May. And I remember being like, what is going on? Like, is this still happening? Like the world, you know what I mean? The world is like turned upside down. So just like, I was like, it feels like it was supposed to happen. I don't know if it's happening. And, you want to be surprised, but I'm sure if you're anything like me, you're like a control freak where you're like, I need to know, like, is it happening? If it's delayed, like I need like some sort of time frame. So he was like, it's happening. It didn't like, it's not, there's, there's been like some setbacks, but it is happening. And then it wound up happening in August. We were at the beach and he proposed like sort of at sunset on the beach, which is a place that we both love. I mean, we're getting married in Mexico. So I think that'll also sort of give you that view. And then his parents were like waiting there, which was nice. And we celebrated with my family a little bit. And it was nice. I think for a COVID engagement, it was like, it was sweet, it was simple, and it was at a place that we like both really loved. So
that's amazing. And he managed to surprise you.
Yes, because I thought it was happening 3 months earlier. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you think so? Are you having a bachelorette party? Do you think I'm trying to get like the insights on what Betches Brides thinks about, bachelorette parties, like engagement parties? Are those things coming back, or are we just like happy to have weddings come back soon?
I think they're back. I'm planning my bachelorette party for Lake Tahoe at the end of June.
Awesome.
I'm fully vaccinated. My friends, pretty much all of them are or will be by that point. So I feel like things are turning around. I feel really positive and optimistic. I mean, again, to preface this, I'm not the CDC. So I don't want to be telling anyone what they should or shouldn't do. But personally, I feel really optimistic about like the wedding industry, the travel industry, and like the ability for people to see each other in person. Also, like it's summer. There's so many places you can be mostly outside.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to be like a really exciting, really fun summer.
I'm so ready for it. I hope you're right, because if I'm vaccinated, all my friends are vaccinated, I'm ready to like go somewhere, do something finally.
Exactly. I mean, I can't speak for the world, but I feel like I'm sure you feel this. There's like an energy, right? That like people are like ready to come out of hiding.
Yeah, definitely. I felt the shift. It's like, okay, like let's plan something. And I'm like, I don't know, should we plan something? I think it's okay.
Yeah, it feels like that. I agree.
Yeah. Awesome. I think this summer is going to be wild. I hope so.
When did you get married?
I got married actually the summer in June 2019 in Italy. Oh wow! So we kind of rushed it to do 2019. So we should have done it in 2020, but I guess we got a little lucky on that.
That's amazing. I always hear. I mean, I have so many friends who got married in 2019. I was like, it feels like, do you know what I mean? That it's just so you like just missed a whole crazy headache. And Italy must have been amazing too.
Yeah, I mean, we got super lucky. And I remember, just working with all of my engagement ring clients that 2020 was going to be like the wedding year because like everyone wanted that date. It was just going to be like the biggest wedding year ever. I had like 9 weddings that summer and it just like obviously like imploded.
Well, now you'll have like 18 weddings this summer, right?
I know. I think a lot of people ended up doing like small backyard things and may not have a big celebration. So TBD, we'll see what happens. But I think, this summer and next year will definitely be big.
For sure. I'm very excited about it.
So from, starting your business in college with your 2 best friends to now, having it be this huge media company, what is, a piece of advice that you would give, a young woman thinking about starting like a blog or starting a business, but feeling like kind of unsure about, taking that first step?
I would say like, I think people think like you have to immediately drop everything and start a business like fully and intensely and like quit your job and do everything. But I think that one thing from running our business is that we did things slowly and we tested and learned. So if you're not in a position to like drop everything, you can still sort of like, if you think you have something new and different to say, you can always, the most amazing thing about living in 2021 is the easy access to start a podcast or start a blog. Like anyone can really do it. Anyone with a computer, anyone who has an idea, you can start small. And like, I just think it's amazing that like literally like anyone that wants to can have a podcast that launches on Apple Podcasts. And if you have something to say and it's interesting enough, like it will pick up.
And for someone who, starts it off but doesn't see, success overnight, like what are some like key tips you can give to a content creator to, not give up, right away? Like, do you advise like posting X amount of times a day, like being on different platforms? Like, what are some tips you can give?
I think it totally depends on the content that you're putting out. But I would say my biggest tip would be to not like pay attention to the noise. Like it seems, and this was something I think, like I said before, like success isn't linear and it can seem like everyone on Instagram is like doing better than you. And I think that goes for any level of success. There's always someone who's more successful than you that you feel like has all the answers. And like what people are putting up is really just their highlight reel. And people say this all the time, but it's like their successes, but they don't show you like the 5 failed deals that came before that happened. So I would just say like, take everything you see with a grain of salt, just sort of like stay in your lane and keep pushing forward. And just remember that like all businesses have their good days and their bad days, and times when it feels like exciting and like you're killing it, and times when you're like, I don't know if this is working. I don't know, where I'm going to be in a few months or a few years. So I think it's just important to like know that everyone feels that way and everyone goes through that.
Yeah. What do they say that comparison is like the thief of joy or something like that? So you shouldn't compare yourself to anyone.
That sounds right. I mean, obviously easier said than done, but I try to remember that when I see someone like killing it.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you mentioned that like Instagram was like huge for, the success of Betches and how it really took off. But are you seeing, I know there's so many different like new social media platforms out there, like TikTok, Clubhouse, all of that kind of stuff. Are you guys seeing, that Instagram is still your number one platform, or that there are other ones that are picking up that we should be paying attention to?
I mean, Instagram is still very big for us, but TikTok is definitely something we're excited about. Our team has made some really, really funny TikToks with all the sort of like relatable themes that you see on our Instagram. So we're very, very excited about TikTok. And also Clubhouse, I think, is like new. I don't really fully, totally 100% get it, but I think
neither.
It's one of those things where it's like, I said that with Twitter at first too, but I think it's one of those things that like that has been blowing up and will, I think once we figure out like how to use it the most effectively, it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
I kind of feel like it's like a live podcast that like anyone can hop in and join into, right?
That's kind of what it feels like. It like you could listen to someone's personal conversation, but like you have to listen live, so it's somewhat different than a podcast. I'm not really sure. I've got to play around.
We'll figure it out. Awesome. Can you tell us just, like what are some things in the future that we can look out for with Betches, like things that we should be paying attention to that we can be excited to see in the future?
Sure. So we just launched our Betches Moms podcast like last week, which is doing so well already. And we're just like really excited about the moms community is like amazing. And they're like sort of similar to the brides community, I think, but like obviously with a different focus. And that community is just like, they're so helpful for each other. We like love engaging with them, sort of giving you like a sense of what it really feels like to be in that moment. I'm not a mom, so I don't fully relate yet, but even just someone who's like mom curious, I feel like it's a great outlet for anyone who's like thinking about having kids and wants to know more and wants like this content given to them in that relatable way that feels like, oh, you're pinpointing this moment. This is what it feels like.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like all my friends are having kids right now. So
I'll definitely have them tune in.
I feel like our generation is definitely like heading in that direction. That's like it's such a natural next step.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's a great outlet. And you can follow it at Betches Moms on Instagram or listen on anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Awesome. So where should everyone follow? Look out for everything. Follow you, Betches. Just let us know.
Oh, great. You can follow Betches at Betches on Instagram, at Betches Brides for bridal content, at Betches Moms for moms content. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Jordana Abraham, which is my full name, on Instagram. And I think that's most of our handles.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. It was so exciting having you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
That was such a fun episode. I love chatting with Jordana and talking all things Betches and Bravo. What is your favorite Betches channel? Let us know.